Hey, how you doing? Mark here from Sleeping Serpent. I want to share with you a really personal experience that I had almost 11 years ago at the time of filming, way back in March 2003. And it's really what started me fully and firmly on this really active spiritual journey. Before, I was very interested in life, very engaged with life. I loved travelling, and I loved dancing, and I was very full of life, and I was on a journey, very much so. But then literally overnight something happened to me that transformed my attention and my intention, and that was to really dive deep into this spiritual experience. You could call it a personal awakening, and I'm sure many people know what I mean, and on the other hand, a lot of you might not. So let me share with you my personal experience. The way it happened to me was probably relatively unique. I was absolutely fascinated with Egypt as a young boy, and always had been. That's why I'm sharing this talk here with my good friend Tut here, Tutankhamun, or Tutankhaten as it used to be called before that. Yeah, I was fascinated, and I was reading a lot about ancient histories and mysteries, and I was just really fascinated by Egypt in particular. It had this hold on me, particularly the pyramids. And one night, back in March 2003, I was like, I really have to know why they built the Great Pyramid of Egypt, because anyone that has done any research, and if you haven't done the research, please do the research. It's not a tomb. It is absolutely not a tomb. The main pyramids of Giza, in particular the Great Pyramid, are not tombs. The Egyptologists have got it wrong, big time. Whether or not they know this or not is another story. Anyways, there's a lot of conjecture about what it is. It's a miracle that it was built. We can't build it to the same exact specifications in its entirety today. We don't know how they did it, and we certainly don't know how they did it in antiquity. And it's impossible to build something in the way that Egyptologists will tell you, using ramps and slaves. It's when you do the research, it's physically impossible to do what the Egyptologists are telling you happened. It's a miracle. It's so precise. Anyway, so I was like, I really want to know, and I was feeling kind of inspired. I was finding very full of life. I'd just been home to Wales and had a great big conversation about all these things that I've been reading about, like the Holy Grail and all of these things. Of course, quite spiritual, but I didn't really see it like that at the time. Just thought interested in history and what's missing from his story. And I was like brushing my teeth. I was like, brushing my teeth so fast, so quickly, that my mind was racing to match the speed of my action, and I was having so many thoughts about the pyramid. Could it be this? Could it be that? My mind was racing with enthusiastic thought patterns about, what it could be. And it was like, and then I kind of thought to myself, oh well, let's just go to bed. Who knows? Okay, and then I went to bed. But my mind was still racing, so I kind of just relaxed and stared at the light for a while, and my mind probably slowed down. It might have even stopped. I wouldn't have thought anything of that in those days. And then I switched off the light. And then a few moments or a minute the most later, I shot out of bed. I literally jumped out of bed and went, I've got it! Like a eureka moment. I've got it! It's all to do with light, and suddenly I felt this feeling that I'd never felt before in my body, right through my body, of being lit up. Like somebody had just turned the light bulb on inside of my mind and inside of my body. If you haven't experienced this, it's something which is gonna sound a bit strange. but everyone has probably had this experience of feeling elated, uplifted, overjoyed in some way, touched by something special, something greater, when, you know, even if it's with friends or family or just a moment of a sunrise, being touched by the magnificence of nature, even just for a split second. If we're all honest, we know what this is. Anyway, this is how it happened to me. It's all to do with light, and I realized that the pharaohs were using this pyramid for a lot of things, and one of the main things I realized is what they were using the pyramid for was to distribute light right through from the apex down to the base, right across Egypt, which would dissipate this kind of energy from, you know, this celestial light down into the earth and raise the vibration of the surrounding area, i.e. Egypt. Therefore, giving everyone this feeling that I was feeling, which I knew I knew a lot about Egypt. I knew this to be my light body, which is called the Ka. You know, it's a bit like the soul in Egypt, in Egyptology. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. My Ka has been activated. And I realized that's what the pyramid was for. It's just a knowing. Like sometimes you just know something, and it's not necessarily coming from the rational thinking mind, although I might have been processing a lot of information over time unconsciously, and then suddenly I had my eureka moment. That's how things happen. The creative mind kicks in, the right brain. Anyway, and I just thought, this is what happened. And you know, I knew from my Egyptology background that it was Mart, M-A-apostrophe-A-T, is this kind of, this concept. It's a bit, a little bit like in Holland. On my mother's side, we have this word called gezellig. It's kind of like everything's how it should be. This sense of contentment, everything's perfect. In Egypt, they called this Mart, and there was the goddess of Mart, who was symbolized by a feather. She wore a feather in her hair, the feather of truth. And you know, the more I thought about this, the more the lights literally went on, and I got more lit up. I don't know about you, I've got this dimmer switch at home in the living room, and it was like the more I realized, the more I started to think consciously in this way, the more that light got brighter and brighter and brighter. I just got a pen, I started writing all this stuff about how the pharaoh would use this, and you know, he could literally travel through the stars in his astral body, and I realized so many things. But this main thing is about how the pharaoh used this to dissipate this really important subtle energy across Egypt, and was therefore literally the divine conduit on earth. You know, he was completely spiritualized by this, and everybody became almost part of that experience, this shared kingship of divine rule on Egypt. If you've never heard this theory before, it might be a lot to take on board, but what's given me the confidence to suddenly make this video, and I wasn't going to make it anyway, but suddenly I discovered this film that's been around for a while, this series called The Pyramid Code, and I was absolutely gobsmacked to realize that the main proponent of this series is exactly the same as what came to me that evening. That's set me off on this 11-year journey of like every sort of spirituality that led me to be a Kundalini Yogi and a Kundalini dancer and a meditation writer and expert and teacher and all the rest of it, you know. Yeah, the Pyramid Code, and it's a beautiful series. Check it out. I actually found it on YouTube. You know, academia tends to exercise on the side of caution, but really, if you have an open mind, I will always like to think that I've kept an open mind. Then it's good to entertain these possibilities and just see what happens. But the point I'm making is that this is really important. This is really so important. I mean, you know, there used to be this kind of grid around the earth, Okay, and all like Stonehenge. We have Stanton Drew near here in Bristol. There's Avebury, Silbury Hill, all these places. This is just in my area, but all around the world are these sacred sites which used to keep this kind of subtle energy field around the world, uplifting the state of humanity in our antiquity, in the deep ancient past. It's clear that our ancients did know a lot about subtle energy. I mean, we've got a lot focused on the material plane more and more, especially with the wonderful advance of technology and science, which has been absolutely fantastic, but it has caused us to move away from the subtleties of what our ancients knew about. And I know this directly now from doing 11 years of Kundalini yoga and so on, working with these energies consciously. I know they're real. I know they're real, and I will do other videos to explain about that, because I'm coming from a place of authority now, where I've put so much effort in to finding out what that initial experience was, that I understand it on a much deeper level. So I urge you to watch the video, the Pyramid Code. I urge you to read as much as you can about ancient sites and ancient Egypt, and read guys like Graham Hancock, Robert Bouval, Lawrence Gardner, all these guys. He's passed away now. Fantastic speaker he was. And you know, open your mind out to having this spiritual experience, because I believe we all have this ability to have this moment, this satori, as the Zen Buddhists call it, which can transform our lives. And you might have already had it, and you might not necessarily know you've had it, because I think it can actually happen in your sleep, believe it or not. So be open to the possibility of awakening, and thank you for watching this. Amen Ra.